One thing's for certain and two for sure, Dubsado users are always clamoring for better and more inspiration in designing custom branded forms. Now you can certainly get creative and crafty with the out-of-the-box functionality that Dubsado provides. But if you want to take your form designs to a level 10, then incorporating CSS and JavaScript is also available. But what if you don't know how to code like me? Like I don't know how to code, I don't know how to do JavaScript. Well, let's just say there's a genie in the bottle. You gotta rub me the right way. So in today's video, I'm going to review the Dub-ins Genie plugin for Dubsado form design. Hi, I'm Nicole Johnson and I own Digital Made Simple, where I help busy entrepreneurs streamline and automate their businesses in a beautifully branded way so that you can focus on serving your clients with excellence. So if you are wondering if Dub-ins is right for you, or if you've never heard of Dub-ins and have no idea what I'm talking about, and you like this video and you get some ideas, then please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will keep the goodness going. Now I'm going to take you to my computer and show you how to transform your form designs using the Genie form generator from Dub-ins. Okay, so let's get started figuring out what is Dub-ins or Genie, or all these words are flying around. I keep saying these words, but you may not know anything about what I'm talking about. Well, the whole concept of a Dub-ins is a Dubsado plugin. So this was created by a gentleman who is a calligrapher named Colin Tierney, and he must know code way better than I do because he was able to create a mechanism for you to insert JavaScript and CSS code into Dubsado forms using code blocks so that you can make your form look basically like a web page, and it can be branded perfectly to fit your brand. So back when this all started, like this started years ago, I was introduced to Dub-ins plugins because I noticed that some people had proposals that were really fancy. I was like, well, how did you do that? And that's when I stumbled upon Colin's site for Dub-ins. And back then it was called Dub-ins, just as a Dubsado plugin, and you actually had to manually generate the code, or you had to follow kind of step-by-step instructions to copy and paste certain code snippets from his website into Dubsado code blocks. Okay, and that's how you would generate your beautiful forms, and mostly it was just for proposals. Fast forward to now, he came out with a process or a form generator called Genie. And in this case, all you have to do is purchase a license, and you can go to the Genie form generator, put in your branding, put in certain things that I'll show you, and then it would generate the form for you just by very limited snippets of code. So you didn't have to keep going back and forth, getting code snippets and then trying to manually put them into your Dubsado forms. So that's basically what Dub-ins is, or what Genie is. And I believe the official name for it is Genie. It's the form generator. So for example, I'm showing you on the screen some inspiration. Like when you look at these forms, they look basically like websites. They have the ability to showcase your information and the branding for your site, even give you like FAQs and things like that in a very lovely and branded way. So it looks very seamless on your site. Now, typically when you are using Dubsado forms, they're in this kind of boxed layout. There's a certain width that they occupy. So you know that it's kind of a Dubsado form. You don't have to be able to take advantage of like full width sections where you can embed like background images and things like that. Whereas with these, you can do a lot more customization of the form with the Dub-ins Genie generator. From this point forward, I'm just going to refer to it as Genie. And I also want to give you a disclaimer. I'm not getting any sponsorship from them. So this is my God's honest review, the pros and the cons of using Genie for people who are either just starting out or really have been experienced with Dubsado and want to enhance their form look and feel in a much, much better way. So I just want you to know it's going to be a completely unbiased review. Sorry, Colin, completely unbiased. But I will also let you know that I have heard from the people at Dub-ins, Colin in particular, that they are coming out with Genie 3.0 relatively soon. So some of the things that I may have tripped on or tripped over or feel like is a little bit of a distraction in this review may be solved once they get to Genie 3.0. So keep that in mind that, you know, this is a very new business. They're growing, and at the end of the day, they're going to always continue to develop more features and make things easier. So this is a review as of today. So throughout this review, one of the things that I want to do is kind of give you a sense of, you know, the pros and the cons of using Dub-ins. And I kind of created a rating system. So there's levels 1, 2, or 3 delighters. So a level 3 delighters is like super fantastic. And there's also level 1, 2, and 3 grievances. So a level 3 grievance is super, super sucky. So keep that in mind. So throughout the video, I will put icons or emojis up that show you whether this is a level 1 delighter or level 3 delighter or a level 1 grievance or level 3 grievance. So you can kind of get a sense of, it may be an issue, but it's not that big of a deal, or it may be great, but you know, it's okay. It's cool. One thing that everyone may be interested in is pricing. Like, how do you sign up for a license and what are the pricing? How does that go? And so I'm going to show you, based on their pricing table, how to consider the cost of using Genie. So basically you have one-time pricing, and then you have yearly and monthly pricing, right? Obviously monthly pricing is more expensive than yearly pricing, but I want you to be very careful with the pricing, the way that it's displayed, because one-time pricing is not necessarily a kind of a all-encompassing one-time price of the yearly and monthly templates. Okay, it's almost kind of like a standalone pricing schedule. So from a one-time standpoint, you purchase one code snippet basically, and you know, for $9.90 you can get, you know, if you just want the testimonial slider, then you can get that, or you can get 10 plus plugins for $99. Again, this is very separate than the yearly and monthly pricing. This is just basically these templates, these sets of templates for a set price. And then the Dub-ins logic is separate from those. It's not like these build on each other per se, somewhat, but not really. So the conditional logic does not necessarily include any of the plugins. So you have to purchase the templates or the set of templates and then add the $199 for the conditional logic. Now, the premium conditional logic has nothing to do with the premium commercial license, okay? The premium conditional logic is that you have the ability to conditionally show or hide sections of your form based on either the selection of a package or the selection of a certain checkbox. Okay, so it's like a separate thing. So it's not necessarily like a build on each other, and certainly relatively disconnected from the monthly and yearly subscriptions. So I'm just going to jump to the yearly one because it still kind of outlines everything, and obviously paying for something yearly is going to give you a bit of a discount. Now, with the yearly personal, professional, and premium licenses, you will get the unlimited use of all the plugins on a single account, right? The difference between the personal and professional projects is that the personal you can only use on your account. The professional, you can start using it on your personal account as well as on client projects, okay? And it does include the conditional logic from the one-time page, right? So that's part of it. But again, this is a subscription pricing, subscription-based pricing. So you're gonna either pay it for the year or pay it month to month and then it's going to renew after that year or after that month, right? And you get standard support. Now, I will say this, this is a delighter, at least a level 3 delighter to me. The support is excellent because in general, you're talking to Colin on the chat box, right? So you can click this chat box and, if you have any problems with your plugin, it's usually him, the creator, the genius of the Genie, that is going to actually respond to you. I don't know if that's always the case. Don't take me for my word, but every time I've reached out for support, it's been Colin who's reached back out and helped me through it. And then the premium license. Now, the difference between personal, professional, and the premium license is, again, you get all of the plugins, all of the templates, includes the premium logic, but you also get the opportunity to become Dub Plus certified. So if you are offering Dubsado setup services as part of your service packages and you want to add this as an upgrade, then the premium license may be right for you, and it allows you to access the Dub-ins community through Slack, and you get premium support. So again, like the support and the connection to the Dub-ins community or the Genie community is what the premium license affords you to be able to do. So once you actually sign up for your package, whichever one you select, then you will be basically presented with your dashboard, okay? And I would suggest and recommend that the first place you go once you purchase your license is the Getting Started tab, right? That's where you're gonna see a bunch of videos on how to use the Genie plugin. And these videos are really detailed, not overwhelmingly so, but you have to really pay attention to everything that it says to do step by step and in that order in order for things to work properly. So I will say that Dub-ins it's finicky. It is finicky. It likes to be, the Genie bottle needs to be rubbed just the right way in order for it to work. There's not a lot of room for error, so keep that in mind. The other thing I will say about this help page is it's very thorough, it's very helpful, but I would not watch these videos in the order that they have them displayed. As a matter of fact, you really probably would start down here with editing your profile. Then you might want to go back up here to the second video to set up your form, then your Genie dashboard, then the proposal lead capture, so it's kind of like the help videos are a little bit all over the place. And if you're not familiar with what you're doing or how to start, and you might think to go into these in order, but as you can see, intro videos are mixed in with advanced videos, and a lot of these are not necessarily in the order that I would logically think they should be in order for you to work with it. So that's one thing I would say that's probably a level 1 grievance, because at the end of the day, the videos are very helpful. They're just not in a particular order. So keep that in mind. So as I said, probably the first video I would do is editing your profile. So when you come to the dashboard, you can edit your profile, and that's on this tab. You can have your picture here. I tend to use this one as the thumbnail for my logo. You can't really see my logo because it's on a dark background. I really can't control that. But on the actual form or the proposal that it's going to be displayed on, it's going to be on a light background. So at the very top where it says proposal, invoice, contract, things like that, that's where this particular logo shows up. So that's one key to things, is setting up your branding, making sure that your information is in place, making sure that you can set up multiple brands. Like you can have a default brand that you normally use, but you may have multiple brands in Dubsado, and you may also have multiple brands here in Genie, and you can set up the different colors and things like that, and social media URLs for the various brands that you have, and use those throughout your setup. You can also set up custom fonts. I really like this aspect of it. There's a lot of plugins or systems that really only give you access to Google fonts, but I am a designer and therefore I have access to Adobe Creative Cloud. And there's times when I'm developing branding and I'm using Adobe fonts. Well, this gives you a very, very easy way to set up your Adobe fonts. This was not, I don't know that this was always there. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, but it wasn't always this easy. So setting up your Adobe fonts and getting the font link and everything like that is incredibly easy. Just look at the video, and I would call this a level 2 to lighter because I think it's really great. But you can also set up your Google fonts as well. Now, the one thing about the fonts is at one point when I was setting up my Google fonts, like you can click here and you don't necessarily know what to do here. You see all these fonts and you think you can click it and it doesn't select anything. What you have to do is actually drag and drop it over here and then click this is a save button. Now, I will say that this is one level 1 grievance that I have with the Genie platform. I'm a user experience designer, and in most cases, this icon means download. In all cases in Genie, this means save or open. So, I think some of the iconography could be updated a little bit so it's consistent, or you just use words. Use your words and then you'll know what to do, but I'm not going to add that because I don't like that font. But these are the 2 Google fonts that I also use, and so I can save that here. But if you don't know what to do here, that's what you do. You have to actually drag it over into this box and then save it. Now, the last time I did this, it like bugged up on me. It like completely froze and I wasn't able to select any of my fonts anymore. So I had to reach out to support again, click this little chat bubble, and Colin came to the rescue and did some stuff on the back end. I don't know what magic happened, but eventually it got fixed. So that's the thing about it. It may be buggy sometimes, but usually somebody will take care of it. And now that, I myself have a premium license, so I can always go into the Slack channel and say, hey, I'm having problems with this and stuff like that. And that the whole Dub-ins community is really strong, very strong. And so that help and support is also there. But yeah, so the fact that you can get fonts in here that match your branding, I think is excellent. And then you have all your templates. Now, don't let this scare you. I don't have this many templates. Basically, what happens is as you're working on your templates, it auto saves. Thank goodness it auto saves. So what you can do is as you're working on them, and if you need to go back to a previous iteration, like you've messed something up, which is not very difficult to do, you can go back to an auto-save version of that before everything went to crap. So today I'm going to be using this particular template to demonstrate how Dub-ins works. So now that we've gotten past the profile, basically we're going to go back to the dashboard and we're going to say, okay, now I've got to create a form. I would recommend you go back to Dubsado and actually set up the form templates. And so basically what you want to do is start putting on the form all of the things that you feel like you need, like form pictures, packages, content, check boxes, form elements, those types of things. No styling, just put the stuff that you think, content wise, you would want on your form that you are not going to use Genie to generate. Okay. And you may say, well, how do I know? It's going to be kind of a little bit of trial and error on your part, but because the interaction and interface between Genie and Dubsado is pretty seamless at this point, you can always add things later, but I always feel like, okay, at least give myself a framework for what I want to have happen on the Dubsado form so that once I go to Genie, I can build around it. So the other thing that you want to do is and I'm going to go into this template. Okay. And so it looks all fancy. And when you create a new template, you are going to choose a template from here. Now, this particular template, this designer template, if you click generate here, it is already set up and pre-populated with all of the plugins and the styling that comes in the standard template. So that's why it has 15 plus plugins here. And so if you generate that, it's already kind of built out for you. And you just have to swap out pictures and things like that so that it looks like your brand and not Collins, because you're trying to showcase your brand, not Collins. So if you click generate here, then it will have that standard kind of template. If you generate from the custom template, right, like this one, so imagine that I clicked generate. Well, you don't have to imagine, I just did it. Then what you're going to do is you're going to follow these instructions. You're going to copy this code to the clipboard. Just by clicking this button, it actually copies the code. So you don't have to select it and all that stuff and hit Control C. Just copy the code to clipboard using this button. And then you're going to go back to your Dubsado form. And you're going to add a code block to the top of the form, the very top, right? And you're going to delete this information from the code block. I'm going to delete this code block too. Imagine I deleted that, and you're going to paste this information in there, right? Now, it's already been pasted. That's already done. So we have now set up our Dubsado form the way it needs to be. Also, you're going to come up to the address bar and you're going to look at this piece right after the edit slash and copy this string of characters and numbers. And then you're going to go back to the template and you're going to paste that here. That is your Dubsado form ID. And then once you do that, then you can choose your plugins, right? You can either create a blank template or choose your plugins. There's additional detailed instructions here, but it's a lot. To be honest with you, it's a lot. So I kind of feel my way around certain things, but yeah, if you go through here, it's just kind of like, it's a lot. Just watch the videos, right? And that should tell you exactly what you need to do. But then you can have the opportunity to choose your plugins. So here's all the plugins that are part of my premium license, and they give you kind of little animated previews of what it looks like. And so then you can go in and select which ones you want to use. And then you can add those to the template and add them in whatever order. I've done that here already. So I'm going to load this template and I'm going to select this button because it's for adding, removing, and reordering the plugins in your template. Once you select all those template buttons, it comes in here. These are all the plugins that I selected to be on this form. When you initially select those plugins, I don't know what order they come in. You kind of just kind of dump in there. And so if you're not used to that, you have to know that, okay, you can reorder things here, but they're not going to come into here and start off in a particular order or an order that you may recognize or want. So basically, once you start looking at the form, you'll be able to tell, okay, so that's what this is, this is what that is. And then you can go through and reorder things once you look through it and say, okay, this is what that's all about. Another thing about the Dubsado form generator is that it can be a little bit buggy. So I'm going to go back into here. And one of the things that I noticed is that the order that things are in this table is the order that it should appear in this form. So if you look down here, it says at the very bottom, the last three things should be testimonials, footer, and the submission bar, right? Y'all see that. I see it. Do you see it? I see it. Testimonials, footer, submission bar. That's how I ordered it, right? Now let's go back here and scroll all the way down to the bottom. That is not a testimonial. That is not a footer. There is the submission bar, but for whatever reason, this is a footer. Then it goes into a banner and then a next stepper. I don't know why that's happening, but for whatever reason, that is what's happening with my form. You can click reload preview and make sure that you've got the right stuff here. And let's see if this fixes it. You know, it's the same number. I made sure that I had the right number and I hit OK. So if I reload the preview, I'm hoping that that changes, but it doesn't. So again, it can be buggy. and I'll have to contact Colin as to why my forms aren't ordered in the way that I have them ordered. And that's a level 3 grievance, because at the end of the day, I don't know until I rub the lamp, until I transfer this design over into Dubsado, whether or not my form is going to look the way that it should look at the end. And I've put a lot of work into making it look a certain way for it not to look that way. So I don't know why that is, but stay tuned. But basically, everything that you're going to edit is going to be here on this left sidebar. So some key things to point out when you're editing on this left sidebar: the form fields, fonts, and buttons, and general styles. Those things are not necessarily going to appear as a section in your Genie preview. You're not editing it for a specific form field. You're editing it for any form field that you put on your form, for any font, button, or general style that you put on your form. So these kind of constitute general styling. The header, the welcome banner, those are specific areas. They actually show, like, this is the header. And so it's going to have this section part right here, this part right here, and then this navigation right here. That's all part of the header. This section is the welcome section. So you're specifically going to be changing the things in those sections. You can't really distinguish the difference between those things in this editor, but you definitely can rearrange it. The other key piece is, remember when I told you to put your form elements on the form ahead of time? Because when you come back to actually edit things, the form elements cannot be reorganized. Okay, so you might think that that's a limitation. It's not necessarily. It's probably a level 1 grievance that you can't reorganize the form elements, but it's also probably very tricky to do in code, and I don't know how to code, so I'm not gonna fault you for that. So what happens when you actually have a form element that you already pre-populated on the form? It'll show like this. It won't let you actually move it. It'll give you an error message saying that you can't move it. What you can do is rearrange the Genie elements around it. So let's say that I wanted the business info in between the basic and pro package for whatever reason. I can't move this down there, obviously. But what I can do is move the basic package and the pro package above and below the form elements, so that you can move the Genie elements wherever you want. You just can't move the form elements wherever you want. So I'm going to change this back because that's not how I actually want it. I think I had them down there. So I moved those back. Another thing that you may want to keep in mind is the package styling. You'll see it here. You can, when you style the packages, it's kind of like the form fields and font buttons. You're styling it for any package that's on there, and they've just come out with the pricing table as well. So you can have pricing tables and or package styling that you can use across your Genie installation. So it's not styling a specific one. It's more so styling any sort of package that you put onto your form and any sort of pricing table that you use to put on your form. So I'll also show you how to use the conditional logic. So if you do have conditional logic, you will have these boxes here. And let's say that you want to show or hide the welcome banner. If you click that checkbox, you can show or hide the welcome banner based on whether a package is selected, and you can select that package, and then you can actually go into which package they want. Now, it doesn't say what package it is because Genie has no idea what your packages are, but it bases it on the order that you have it laid out in your form when you originally set up your form. So if I have 5 packages on there, then the first package that I encounter on the Dubsado form is going to be package number 1. Or you can do it based on checkbox. And so if I have several checkboxes, it doesn't say like the name of the checkbox, it says the name of the answer. So make sure you describe your checkbox fairly clearly so that you can tell which checkbox is which. If you have a bunch of yes, no checkboxes, then what's going to appear here is yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. You don't want that. So I made sure that I made descriptive checkbox labels for the actual answer. So when you go here and say, okay, would I like to add additional workflows, then I have yes, let's add some workflows. So I know that this is the question that has the option for adding additional workflows. And based on that answer, if they check this section of the workflow add-ons will appear. So I'm going to take that off because I don't want conditional logic there. I will also tell you, from being with Dub-ins and from the very beginning to now, these section dividers are great, but initially you couldn't duplicate certain elements. Now you can duplicate the welcome banner if you want to. I don't know where it puts it. It puts it at the bottom. You can duplicate the welcome banner. You can duplicate section, once you style the section dividers the way that you want, you can duplicate those and just change the wording within them. So that's awesome. I really like that additional feature. I think that's a number 3 delighter. And from the screen, you can also add more plugins, add more form elements, add more different things. And then just by clicking on them and hitting add plugin, you can customize your form infinitely to whatever your heart's content. So just hit save. And then you'll see somewhat of a preview of your Dub-ins form. Now, when you're editing this, you'll notice that there's only one set of editing fields here in the left navigation bar. So if I want to edit this welcome banner, I have to click this button and switch to welcome banner and then hit OK. And then all of the settings for the welcome banner are populated in the left navigation. So then you can go in and, oh my gosh, there are so many elements. This can get a little bit overwhelming. I will be very honest. And the fact that you have to kind of switch here in order to get a different one here, it's a little bit challenging. And some of the nomenclature that's used to define like what the banner options are versus the content versus the styling, the layout, I think some of it is it was a little bit confusing for me when I first started out. So it's almost a little bit of trial and error for you to understand what needs to be adjusted. So actually this is the welcome banner. So that's this piece. If I want to say my name is Nicole D. Johnson, MBA, then I can do that and you get an instant view of what that looks like. So it's nice that you get an instant preview. It can just be a little bit of a challenge to make sure that you understand exactly where you're editing. And so you kind of have to just play around. Like if you say hide the card button, oh, okay, so that's what the card button is. Then I click it on and click to show the card button. And then you can take and put a link to your about page or something like that here, and someone can go straight to your website's about page. And you can also adjust like your social icons and put what's needed there. You defined a lot of these social icons in your profile, so some of it may pre-populate, but I think in general you actually have to put your social URLs here so that people can know that these are clickable. And then you can adjust the styling of things very easily, like the banner colors, the typography colors. It's a lot. All right, so let's say you got everything set up just how you like it. You've done all the damage you want to do with the Genie plugin and everything looks the way that it should. Clearly mine does not, but let's pretend that it does. So I tend to, once I find that I've set up a form the way that I like, I actually save the template. And then you can either save as new, that means it's going to create a whole new template just for what you've done, or you can update an existing template. Now, the templates in terms of saving a template here is much like the templates in Dubsado. They are just a framework. The rubbing the lamp is saving this particular form back to Dubsado, but the template is something that you can kind of reuse. And so I will save this template. It doesn't save the form, it saves it as a template so you can reuse it. Okay, if that's very clear. But I would update the existing Dub-ins review and hit OK. And now I have that as a template that I can use in the future if I just want to tweak it, create another proposal for another purpose, but use that as the basis for my future forms. But basically, once you're ready to get it back into Dubsado, then what you're going to do is actually rub the lamp. Ooh, fancy. Look at that. Smoke and everything. It's awesome. So copy magic to clipboard is what you're going to absolutely do. So the next steps are you're going to, again, drag another code block to the very top of your Dubsado form, and then you are going to put this additional code into your Dubsado form. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to drag another code block. So that's in addition to this initial code block, right? So again, we're going to delete this, and then we're going to paste that. Now, as you can see, this is very different. I would not have been able to come up with this. Colin's smart. So this is a lot of stuff, but this makes your form look the way that you styled it previously. So now you can hit close. And as long as you've got a email field on here, you can actually set this up to show the contract. And I'll just put a contract on here, show the invoice. You can allow your clients to select multiple packages just like you normally would. And you would make this public and create a new project once the proposal is complete. Add any workflows and select your project status. I'm going to select a project status of job current. That's fine. And then you can select your lead capture title. You can say your client's full name and the, proposal, the service. And so this is like a Dubsado VIP Day, let's say. And then you can put that there because that's the type of proposal this is for. So then you can hit save. So once you do that, you can hit share, and then you can take this, open up a new incognito window, and then paste it here. Now let's see if the quirkiness in the footer rectified itself or what. But as you can see, it looks all styled. It looks all fancy. It has all the styling and the things that I said. It even has the conditional logic because I say, yes, let's add some workflows. Let's do that. And then it comes up with the section that is now shown based on someone selecting that. You go down and you see the FAQs and Colin, help a sister out. There's still some funniness and funkiness at the bottom of the screen. I don't know. It could be very well something I'm doing, but when I look at the plugin orders, I don't see that the footer is where it's supposed to be. And I don't know why it's there, but it could be OE, operator error. So I will maybe do an update or add a comment in this video if I figure out what the issue is and figure out that I did it, or if it's a bug fix that needs to be done and the people at good old Genie have done it. But yeah, now you have a fully fledged, whole, beautifully branded form that looks way better than what you could do with the out-of-the-box technology with Dubsado. So if you need some strategy help, it would show that package. If you need some branding help, it would show those packages. Look at that. Look at God. So of course you would need to actually change those packages to include the package that you're referencing. And once you do that, you can update things and stuff like that. But all in all, it's pretty straightforward and well beyond what people who can't code is capable of doing with a Dubsado form. So again, I keep mentioning that Genie 3.0 is coming out. I don't know what Genie 3.0 has in it, if it's going to solve some of these problems. I believe I was told that it's going to help clarify the pricing, the way that the pricing is displayed, and that they're supposed to streamline that and make it more clear. I don't know, but I mean, I think anytime that a budding business that has a great product is evolving, that evolution is going to come with some benefits. So, you may want to get in at the ground floor and purchase it now before those features and benefits result in higher pricing later. if you're tired of the out-of-the-box Dubsado look and feel. So if you really like this video, if this was a excellent or at least a good introduction to Genie from Dub-ins, please comment Genie 3.0 in this video. Let me know that this was valuable to you and that you got something from it. I'm going to just give you an overview of tips for success and my general review of Genie from Dub-ins. I have yet to use Genie on a client's installation because in general, if I want the person to be able to edit their proposals or their questionnaires after I finish working with them and they don't, either they have not purchased their own license for Genie or they're not familiar with how to use Genie, then again, I would be creating an additional learning curve in a client that wouldn't necessarily need it. So I would say that Genie is great for someone who feels that they have exhausted the design capabilities of Dubsado. That means you are already a relatively intermediate or advanced user and you are very, very particular about how your brand shows up in front of clients and prospects. Then I think Genie is definitely worth it. And in fact, I have an affiliate link in my description box. If you want to purchase Genie and you feel like you've gotten some value from this video and you want to bless me a little bit from your purchase, then that affiliate link is available. But at the end of the day, I think that it's good for intermediate to advanced users of Dubsado. I would not necessarily recommend it for beginning users of Dubsado because beginner users, in my experience, are already overwhelmed by the learning curve that Dubsado presents itself. So then tackling this learning curve on top is a bit of a stretch. It's a stretch. Other tips for success are however the help videos are outlined, set up and have an idea of what form elements you will need on your form and set that up first. Right? Put your package where you want your packages. Put them in order the way that you feel like you would want them seen on the form so that when you bring it back to Genie, you can order the other elements around that. So my biggest suggestion is set up your form with the Dubsado elements that you feel you're going to use and need for your form. And again, look at those videos, follow them to a T. It's finicky. It is very finicky. So if you don't follow it to a T, I mean, like if you've got more than one monitor, like I have the video running here and you doing your work on the other screen, because you will need to definitely go step by step until you get used to the interface and until you get used to where things are and what things mean. You're going to need to kind of be following those instructions to the T. And even when you are more familiar with Dub-ins and Genie, like I said, I've been using it since when you had to manually copy code over, and still now that it's evolved to Genie where it's at, I still have to trial and error through the settings and make sure that I understand what element, what design element affects what piece of content from the Genie generator. So yeah, it's a little bit of trial and error, but take your time, have some patience, figure out how to switch back and forth through things, and I think you'll be fine. Another thing is, as you're designing your forms, you're going to be using your own images. I personally would recommend that you source those images from your website. In a lot of the videos, the instructional videos, it shows you how to get the image URL from Dubsado. I don't know. I kind of just feel like it's best to source it from your website because as long as it's on your website, you can control it. Not to say that the other idea is that if your website goes down, then you may not have access to those images anymore. But also, if Dubsado starts acting buggy, then those images aren't going to be available either. So either way it goes, it just depends on where you want control. I tend to prefer that control to be in-house, and the less things that I'm sourcing from third-party areas, the better to me. But that's just my opinion. But yeah, I would source my images, like the URL, that shows that image from my website versus the way that they describe it being from the Dubsado image gallery. The last tip I'll give you is these forms look great when you use the link from the proposal template. Like directly here, everything's full width, the images are full width, all of the stuff looks great, beautiful. However, when you're talking about a public proposal and you really want it to look like a web page, 9 times out of 10, you want to embed that onto your website, right? When you embed this into your website, it will not go full width. It will just be in the container that your website's default container size is. So it will not look like this. You will have to play with the code a little bit to make sure that it goes full width. I may do a video on how to do some workarounds and tips and tricks for Genie, but just know that once you embed it onto your website, it will look different. If you plan on providing the direct URL to the proposal, it won't matter. It'll look just fine. It'll look just like it does here. However, if you plan on embedding it, you might have to do a little adjustment. Hopefully you feel that I've hipped you to the game on how to really jazz up your Dubsado forms. And if you do, and you just choose to purchase Genie or Dub-ins, then please use the affiliate link in the description box below. Also, if you don't want to deal with any of it, you don't want to deal with Genie, you don't want to deal with setting up your Dubsado, I offer Dubsado VIP Days. And that means that in one measly day, we can get your whole Dubsado setup done and looking brilliant just for you and just for your brand. And you can go forth and just spread the love to your prospects and clients using custom built branding that I do in one day. And I also offer upgrades to the VIP package for incorporating Genie or CSS and JavaScript based designs into your Dubsado setup. So if you are interested in a Dubsado VIP day and interested in a CSS upgrade to your forms, the description box has the links to everything that I described below. And if you want, we can jump on a free consult call, discuss your needs, and see just how particular you are about your brand so that I can get you on the road to a custom branded experience with Dubsado. And I'm hoping that I will be able to keep up with developing new video content weekly so that you can always be in the know about Dubsado, systems, automations, and great design. Until next time, bye.